Good afternoon, class. I think after some time I should tell good evening, class. So we will be doing current affairs, polity and governance. The topics that we will be covering are Adivani, AI translator for tribal languages, New Foreigners Act 2025, PVTGs and enumeration issues, should commercial speech on digital platforms be regulated, and last is how bail hearings take a grab on the trial. Okay. First topic is Adivani. Okay. We will break this down like this. Adi Vani. Usually your Adi means somewhere of your beginnings. This beginning can also be associated to something as to your primordial, tribal languages, something which came very beginning. Vani means, now here it has two interpretations. One is language, another is your sound. So Adi Vani means it is a translator. Okay, a translator for tribal languages. Understand like this, there are a couple of tribal languages. Now these tribal languages will either be translated to Hindi or English, or from Hindi and English there will be a translation to tribal language. Understanding? Ideology is simple. When, let's say, I have gone to a tribal area, people there are speaking only tribal language. I have no idea what they are speaking about. And I am a kind of person who has gone there for some volunteer activities, that is trying to spread information about health. Okay. And I am speaking something, they are speaking something. Neither of us have any idea about it. So at that point of time, this AI translator will be useful. Same point of time, let's say there are tribal children. We don't have very specific amount of teachers who are there only to teach in the tribal language. So at that point of time, what can be used? Your translator can be used. Clear? So this AI translator will be a game changer when it is for your tribal language to your Hindi or English, or from Hindi and English to tribal language. Okay? And one more important thing about this is the possibility of this for this year prelims is higher, because this is the world's, that is with respect to in our country, this is the very first time we have started something like this. So this is a pilot, which means we have introduced for the new time. And we have introduced with few languages, not all tribal languages. I'll tell you which tribal language also. This is a pilot program. For the very first time we are doing, for very few languages, we have started it out. Clear? The languages that will be translated from your Adivasi language to Hindi or English, or from Hindi and English to Adivasi language are Billi, Mundari, Gondi, Santali, Kui and Garo. You want to sit here? So this will translate not just speech and text, but also visuals, that is written picture format. And the whole point of building something like this is to make sure no language is left behind, and all these languages can be translated. Initially, we have started it only for these languages. This is only for Adivasi language. Done? These ones. These are the language. For example, Santali, Santals. Okay. And one more important thing about your Adivani is it is linked to Adi Karma Yogi. Your Adi Karma Yogi is a capacity building mission for your Adivasis or tribals. We have discussed this in previous current affair classes. Adi Karma Yogi has 1 lakh villages and 20 lakh volunteers. So these volunteers will be using Adivani to communicate with the Adivasi people. ₹20 lakh volunteers. Done? We'll move ahead. The same lines we have Bhashini program. Read on Bhashini. Done? See, Bhashini stands for Bhasha Interface for India. Bhasha in otherwise means language. So this is for overall language translation. Adivani is language translation for your Adivasi language. Bhashini is the other languages, whatever are there, it can be translated. Let's say I only know Telugu. Then I can translate it into various other languages. Let's say I only know Gujarati. Then I can translate it into other languages. Okay. Bhashini is a overall big scheme. Adivani specifically is a subset. Understanding? And your Bhashini comes under Digital India Mission. Digital India Mission is a umbrella scheme. See, the whole point of umbrella scheme means you hold an umbrella. People under that are protected. Yes. So same way, umbrella scheme means that is one big central schemes which will have lot of other sub schemes below that. Digital India is an umbrella scheme. Under Digital India only your Bhashini will come. Okay. Digital India is an initiative of Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, otherwise MeitY. Adivani is also largely your Ministry of Tribal Affairs will also come into help. Okay. With respect to your Bhashini, again this is also translation, that is for normal languages. It will translate text, video, documents, website, real-time speech. When you're speaking itself, it will translate. This is very important so as to from prelims perspective. And it is multilingual. From any language to any language it can convert. While I'm speaking itself, it can convert to different language. All of these, they are using artificial intelligence. That is why it comes under Digital India. Write this down, highlight this thing in a box. Text, video, documents, websites, real-time speech. Done. This is with respect to Bhashini. Next topic is Immigration and Foreigners Act 2025. This is very, very important from prelims perspective. Okay. First, I'll try to tell it to you like a story. You understand this. See, with respect to the people who are living in India, we'll categorize them into three concepts: citizens, non-citizens, illegal immigrants. In again another current affairs class we have discussed, illegal immigrants means those who enter India with valid documents but overstay. Second is who enter India without valid documents. Those are illegal immigrants. They have no protection. Understanding? They have no legal protection. That is why the name illegal. They are in our country illegally. When you find illegal immigrants, the one thing you will try to do is deport them back to their country. This is the overall idea with respect to the world also. Now, citizens will have all sort of rights, duties, etc. That is known. Here is where the thing comes about non-citizens. Non-citizens are also called as aliens. Okay, this is not a made up word, this is real. Non-citizens of India are called as aliens. Aliens, there are two categories. Friendly aliens, enemy aliens. Understanding? So this is the two distinguishing factor among the aliens. Now, this non-citizens can also be to a wide angle referred to as foreigners who are not from our land. Understanding? Usually how to deal with the foreigners, we had a set of laws. Okay, we had Foreigners Act, we had Passports Act, all of the acts which we had in India to deal with foreigners were all colonial laws. For example, Passports Act was from 1920. 2025 tak we were using the same law only. Just amendments we used to make to the original law. Now what happened is, starting from September 1st, this particular act has come into picture. Immigration and Foreigners Act of 2025. Anything to deal with these people, earlier we had lot of laws. Understanding? We subsumed, that is, put all of them together, and today, that is from September 1st, 2025 onwards, this will be applicable. From this day onwards, this law will be applicable for all the foreigners. And this will protect more of our national security. This is a long overdue law, which means we had only colonial laws, 1920, 1946, only one law we had with respect to 2000, rest all laws were 1920s, 1947 before laws. For the first time, we have subsumed, merged all those and introduced one holistic law, that is Immigration and Foreigners Act. Right, the gist of this. I'll tell you what and all were those laws. Done? Add on one line. Immigration and Foreigners Act 2025, comma, this law consolidates India's immigration laws and moves towards strengthening and prioritizing national security. So there are two keywords I want you to underline here. One is consolidates, which means it merges or subsumes all the existing things. Second thing is national security. The acts which were subsumed, which means presently before September 1st, 2025, these were all the laws which were applicable. Passport Act 1920, Registration of Foreigners Act 1939, Foreigners Act 1946, Immigration Act 2000. With our present law, all these four are put into just one law. From September 1st, 2025, that law is applicable. These laws are all repealed, which means these are removed. Write these down. Largely, if you see, all of these are your colonial law, which means British time law. Passport Act 1920, Registration of Foreigners Act 1939, Foreigners Act 1946, Immigration Act 2000. From prelims perspective, these are important. So we saw what the act was, what and all act has it repealed. Now we will see provisions of the new act. Understanding? Head on the subheading, provisions. Again, these are all very important from prelims perspective. Write down point wise. Okay. First thing is for forged documents. Anyone who enters our country with forged documents will be given both a penalty plus punishment. Usually penalty itself was considered as a punishment, but now penalty plus jail time. Penalty of 1 to 10 lakh rupees, punishment of 2 to 7 years imprisonment. This is only when someone enters our country through forged documents or fake documents. Penalty of 1 to 10 lakhs, imprisonment of 2 to 7 years. Compared to all the repealed laws, only this present law is more stricter, more stringent. It is more punishing. Okay. Why so much stringentness or why so much strictness has brought in means in lieu of national security. Understanding? That is, we are making sure that people are to be aware. Let's say if you put 500 rupees fine, people won't worry about that. Acha, I'll pay 500, I'll still go stay there. That will be the mentality. When you have a harsher punishment, people will think twice before they enter. Many countries, for example, recently you would have seen in news, US President Donald Trump had deported people. Yes. So when punishments are stringent, okay, the concept of illegal immigrants, forged documents will be reducing. Same principle is followed in Australia. Same principle is followed in your Middle Eastern countries, Gulf countries. Okay. Now India is on same lines, but we do not have strict punishment like them. But this is the first start. Okay. Next, entry and reporting requirements. That is, wherever foreigners are staying in whichever hotels, whichever, let's say your resorts, wherever they go, including the public transportations that they use and including the airlines that they will book to come in. The airlines, as soon as any foreigner has booked to come to India, has to share all the details with the government. How to share, when to share, that the government will communicate with them. So basically, the government wants to, by the government, the center wants to keep a tab on who is entering the country, who is exiting the country. Understanding? Now let's say one simple example is your New Year celebrations or Christmas celebrations, your partying culture, Goa, Pet and all will be there, right? If the government feels this is a place where a lot of foreigners are coming at this point of time, let's say if there is any particular hotel that they stay or if any particular casino they visit, government now has the permission to close that outlet, to close that event If they know that foreigners are coming there, it's not like we are blocking all the foreigners. In case of national issues, in case we don't want people to enter into particular restricted zones, understanding, these provisions were not there earlier, or they had to be dealt with different laws. But now one law is dealing with everything. So in here, if at all, under this subsection, write down entry and reporting requirements. The first one is, write down entry into restricted or protected areas. This is only for foreigners. This will not apply to citizens. Anything in this law will not apply to citizens of India, only for foreigners. Okay, if foreigners enter into any restricted areas or protected areas, understanding, they will be facing up to 5 years imprisonment or a fine up to 5 lakh rupees. Yes, they are already classified as protected, and if government wants, it can increase the area limit also. Scheduled areas, now for example, wherever the aboriginal tribes are living, or let's say inside your Arunachal Pradesh or northeastern states, if they find some sensitive areas and they tell you shouldn't enter, at that point of time, these people are not supposed to enter. For example, here next topic we also will be discussing Andaman and Nicobar Islands, Lakshadweep Islands. Recently, not recently, this was a little bit older only, you would have heard that a foreigner left a packet of chips and Coca-Cola and these things. So that was illegally entering into a protected area. Now, if they do any such things like that, they can face a fine up to 5 lakh rupees and imprisonment up to 5 years. Okay. Second thing is mandatory reporting. Second topic is mandatory reporting. Schools, universities, hotels, hospitals, nursing homes, airline companies, buses, bracket period on various modes of transportations, all have to report foreigners if they are using or staying in that particular, let's say, hotel, or they were visiting any university, admitting into any hospitals, understanding. So these are all to be done so as to the government will know who is entering, who is exiting. See, they may evade, despite us keeping these many laws, they may still somehow sneak into the country. But there can be no person who cannot use any services. If you are in a country, you have to use, you will at least have to walk on the roads, you will have to use some public transportations, you will have to, let's say, go to hospital, buy something, stay somewhere. All these is places where how we will try to find out where foreigners are. For example, if you're going into a hospital or a hotel, wherever a person is staying for more than a day or availing any services, this is mandatory now that they have to register. This is not for citizens. Citizens you can tell poor record keeping, but for foreigners it is mandatory. Next is government in the act itself. In this act itself has told that it is empowered to regulate or close the premises which are frequently visited by the foreigners. In case of, let's say, if the government feels this is a threat to my national security, understanding, simple logic if you have to understand. Let's say people all come near to your Goa, like we said, the same New Year party celebration. Many people try to use this as a guise to plan something illegal in India. Try to meet up people or try to activate certain people networks in our country. So if the government wishes, it can even close these outlets. Understanding? Or let's say there is a common hotel where always people are linked to some terror activity are coming and meeting. They can even close that establishment. Write this down. This is first time they have bought this in this act holistically. Not this. write down Bureau of Immigration. Bureau of Immigration. Below that write down has statutory powers. Statutory power means something that is coming from Parliament. Has statutory powers to identify, detain, and deport illegal foreigners. Illegal foreigners. Detain, deport illegal foreigners. Now, if you see how throughout the world people are practicing with respect to illegal deportation, the first and foremost we will use is your USA. Write down first one, USA. It uses catch and revoke. It uses catch and revoke policy, which means it uses your artificial intelligence to identify where and all these illegal immigrants have flagged for using services. Same like now we said hotels will physically tell us, your hospital should physically tell us. There they're using and tracking everything through AI only. Why we can't do that? We are still just budding into the idea of AI. They are full-fledgedly starting using that in everything. So they are trying to find illegal immigrants like this and deport them back into their respective countries. That huge list of people who were all deported, they all tried through your catch and revoke technique only. Yes, not just Indians, Mexicans, and including Canadians. Right. Next is Australia. Has a policy of detaining non-citizens. Detaining non-citizens in case of security risk. See, every country will do this in the name of security risk, and no one country has up until now defined what is a security risk. Okay. Next is your Gulf countries, such as Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and Bahrain. Here they don't even give an option to tell there is a national risk. They find out, they will deport you. Understanding? There is no provision for even appealing, telling that no, I belong here, I have lived here, no such thing. The laws are very strict and stringent in the Gulf countries and Middle Eastern countries, okay, compared to anywhere. Next topic is particularly vulnerable tribal groups. What is it? Gulf countries. Gulf countries deport the illegal immigrants without offering as much as a chance for appeal. Done? Next is particularly vulnerable tribal groups. Here. After this punishment has served, see, first and foremost, let's say a person has entered into our country illegally, but the issue now comes with India is, A, you have direct deportation. But what happens with reality of deportation is, most times we have to shell out our own money, our own expenses to take them and leave them in their respective country and come. We can't just throw them out of the border until go die. What happens is that is most costly affair, because for each person we have to take them to their respective country. And when we go take them to leave them there, that country is not willing to accept it. So what happens is we try to do this imprisonment. After this, what happens will be decided by the central government. If they assume, okay, we will put them in detention centers, they will be put in detaining. Otherwise, they will have to talk to the respective country. So it is not that easier to tell whether what happens to the people, will they be deported back, because the respective country also has to take these people back. When it was with US, when Indian Prime Minister went to US, the Indian Prime Minister told that if at all these people are proved to be Indians, we will take them back. So without that, no country will accept people. So that provision also we have to see. Next is PVTGs, or particularly vulnerable tribal groups. See, the idea behind why this topic has come is, again, the Ministry of Tribal Affairs has asked the census commissioners that while you are going to conduct census, now the process has started, at least the preparation has started. They are telling, while you will be, let's say, in your census, you have this category, right? OBC, SC, ST. Issue is coming here. Census may usually there is this group called as tribal people. Those people are usually called as scheduled tribes. Among this tribal people only, there is a section called as PVTGs, particularly vulnerable tribal groups or aboriginals. Meaning, compared to the other tribal people who at least know that mainland exists, there are people who have other occupations, who have come in contact with other human beings. But this section of people largely remain isolated. For example, your sentinels, right? And they don't want to have any contact with the mainlanders also. And their version is of life is very intertwined in their own practices. This section is very, very vulnerable. Vulnerable means even if they come in contact with any mainlanders, let's say you'll just shake their hand, the possibility of they getting diseases which will be not even known to them and killing the entire tribe is high. Understanding? Because they have not been exposed. Now, for example, mainlanders means we are exposed to wide range of diseases. So we have inbuilt immunity. Understanding? Now, if someone contracts COVID, we know for a fact that, okay, somehow that situation can be navigated. Right? Because we have some set of immunity. We have been through once. But if any of these diseases comes in contact with the tribal group, that entire tribe can get wiped out. Understanding? So, in that sphere, the Ministry of Tribal Affairs has asked the Census Commissioner, while you are going to be calling ST, in this ST, make a separate tab of who will come under PVTGs. Understanding? That is why we are discussing this topic. Ministry of Tribal Affairs has asked the Census Commissioners, while enumerating ST population, separate section should be made on PVTGs. So, if we know who these people are, we can give them more adequate help with respect to healthcare, with respect to education, with respect to livelihood. Understanding? This is why we are discussing. So, one of the important thing, when did we first use this word PVTGs means, it is by Debar Commission, which was set up in 1960-61. Important, write this down, prelims perspective. Debar Commission was set up for your welfare of scheduled tribe people, or at least to know what is the status of scheduled tribe people. This is where he highlighted among the tribal groups only there is particularly vulnerable tribal groups who needs immediate access, attention and care. Very initially, when Debar committee told to do about this PVTGs, there were 52 groups. As of now, there are 75 groups. It's not that these many groups grew. It's that these many groups were not identified at all. Even today, there are so many particularly vulnerable tribal groups which are not identified. Done? We'll move ahead. So what are the key characteristics, or how do you identify a particular section as particularly vulnerable tribal group? First is their population is declining very largely. Why? Because they come into any contact with mainlanders, or if because of their health and also the fact that many people have been exploited, they come out. Second thing is they are geographically isolated. They don't want to come out from that place. Understanding any developmental activity wants to happen, first thing they will do is kick these people out. And because of that, what happens? These people tend to perish off. Second thing is they do pre-agrarian practices, which means they still follow shifting agriculture or jum cultivation. Jum cultivation means once they'll use that land, let's say 1 or 2 times crops will come. After that, let's say crops won't come. So what they'll do is they'll put that land, burn it, and then they'll go for some other land. This is more of a slash burning method. Next is development. If you see, they have very poor health and poor literacy. Why again poor health? The practices are very older. Second thing is when they come in contact with the mainland, again the issues are very different. And lastly, the culture. Their culture, we can't tell their culture is bad. We can only tell that they have a very intricate culture. They follow their own traditions. Understanding? So this concept, whatever we say about equality, rights, those things still doesn't apply there. So these are the ways how you can identify a particularly vulnerable tribal group. What is the enumeration issue means? Putting their names in the census. Names matlab putting the names of the tribe in the census. That's what Ministry of Tribal Affairs has asked. Find out these groups, identify them and put them under PVTG. So first we will help them out. Issue has been up until now, that is up until 2025 tak, no separate creation was made for PVTGs. That is why your tribal affairs is asking the census commissioners. They are telling everyone is put under ST. In this ST only make a distinction. Second thing is, if you see about the population that is in your STs also, most time what is happening in census is certain tribal groups are not even entered. Your Baigas from MP were listed in 2011 census. But the same people who are living in Abujmari or Hill Korba tribes, they were not listed at all. One place only. One tribe is listed, other tribes are left out. Understanding? Most times if people come to know that someone is coming, they try to flee also, in the fear of being with the mainstream people. Another thing is, because of if we don't identify or if we don't know they exist, we can't help them out also. We can't give them access to any social welfare schemes. This is another issue. This data is important, write down. According to Ministry of Tribal Affairs, in total there are, this is not census data, this is the data of Ministry of Tribal Affairs. According to Ministry of Tribal Affairs, there are more than 47.5 lakh particularly vulnerable tribal groups. Wherein 13.2 lakh people reside in Madhya Pradesh alone. Just one rough question I'm asking. This data when we told 47.5 lakh, okay, particularly vulnerable tribal groups, this is for whole of India put together. Highest concentration of particularly vulnerable tribal groups is in Madhya Pradesh. Why? Data I told you. Question I'm asking is, why particularly vulnerable tribal groups are largest in Madhya Pradesh? Forest covers, then bad land topography. Okay. Something think outside the box. Geography, very good. You want to elaborate on that? Which particular, what is it? Mountains, okay. See, one of the things, come again. Less rains. Okay, what was that? Someone said something. Traditional livelihood, very good. Then we're talking about this section, right? When questions like this asked, and this kind of questions only will be asked, you have to understand what their livelihood would be. Apart from, let's say, apart from agriculture or cultivation, I told you they are free. Okay, they will use that land, slash, burn, mow ahead, that kind of people. If they are going to eat something apart from your agricultural produce, another thing would be animals, hunting. Where do generally in our country, geography you will bring back, animals are largely focused where? Forests, jungles. Yes. So they have to be in places. The concept of tribal people is they have to be in places where there will be close by to water but not too close enough to water. Your history ka, do you remember Indus Valley civilization all topic? They want to be near water but not too close to water because they're scared of water. First thing. Second thing, they need natural shelters, which is where hills are needed, right? And the third thing is they also need good constant supply of food. Agriculture is not 365-day event. So which means on days when they are not able to get agriculture, they need some sort of food, which will be that animals. Animal population has to be higher. If you see our geography, northern is Himalayas, southern and more of your hilly areas or your ghats. Focusing of your, let's say, tribal groups are largely on hill areas or on ghats. Anything that is not too close to water but has availability of water. Anywhere that is not filled with human population. Largely we humans try to, if there is any uneven surface, we try to make it even. That's why we are consuming all lakes, everything, encroachments. These are the places that they have not been able to do. If you see in all of India, central India is the apt premise for all this. Understanding? So central India ka prime place is Madhya Pradesh. That is the reason why there is highest number of tribals even today. Clear? That on Madhya Pradesh has 13.22 lakhs. This is the highest. Maharashtra has 6.7 lakhs. See, again, all this is central India regions only. Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra. Next, 5.18 lakhs is Andhra Pradesh. Done? Among the next line, right on, among the particularly vulnerable tribal groups, among the PVTGs, the smallest of PVTG is the Sentinels community. Is the Sentinels community. There are only 15 members in that particular community. Next topic, social media regulations. Social media regulations. Okay. Understand this, if at all there is anyone who tries to always protect freedom of speech and expression, that will be your judiciary. It will be in fact your government which will try to put out laws. For example, your section 66A of IT Act, right? So all these acts where the government will try to curb freedom of speech to a large extent. This is not this government, any government. This has been the trend that we have seen. But it is always your Supreme Court. Supreme Court struck down section 66A of IT Act because it said it is violative of freedom of speech. Such a Supreme Court itself is telling the government, bring some regulations for social media. Because recently it found out that people, in the name of commercialization of social media, in the name of podcasts, stand-up comedies and all those, people were seen making fun of people with spinal muscular atrophy. Okay. One thing your judiciary identified was, in the name of comedy, in the name of satire, in the name of black comedy, different names you can keep. But what you're trying to do is you are hurting vulnerable sections of the society. And see, now more than ever, this was also your UPSC essay question when they were asking questions on FOMO, fear of missing out. This was UPSC essay question, wherein they said when more and more people are facing the adverse effects of social media, more instances of depression, isolation, anxiety, panic attacks, all of those have increased in recent times. Alongside that, if people who are already suffering through certain diseases, or if people are having any genetic or health conditions, and you keep making fun of that, that will affect the entire community. Understanding? So Supreme Court has called for huge regulations on social media. Now, whatever Supreme Court tells, it is again strictly, it is asking only for the center or the parliament to make laws. Supreme Court on its own cannot make laws. Why? Because it doesn't have legislative powers and it would become judicial overreach. Judiciary can suggest, it can't demand. First thing is, it says commercialization of this free speech has left to a lot of vulnerable section people becoming sufferers. Understanding? So what it has said that is, yes, Article 19(1) of A, your right to freedom of speech and expression is important. At the same point of time, you should also make sure that vulnerable sections are protected. When I told in the starting, your judiciary has always been someone who protects your freedom of speech and expression. Two landmark examples are Sakala paper cases and Tata press case. First thing with respect to Sakala press cases, government initially in the year of 1950s and 60s used to pass lot of laws, which was telling if your newspaper is going to charge 3 rupees, then you have to print at least 6 pages. If you're going to charge 5 rupees, so based on the price, pages should be printed, they passed a law. Judiciary struck down that law telling this is violative of freedom of speech and expression. Then is your Tata press case. I don't know how many of you remember this. There was something called as yellow book concept. There was a huge yellow book which used to have numbers of all the telephonic dictionaries and all. That point of time, judiciary told, see, if you want to print some information which is paid of any particular business, you can do. Randomly, any person's information, you should not put it. That is a violation of right to privacy. This and all, your judiciary did it back in 1960s, 90s. At this point of time, it has kept on maintaining a strong stance of protecting freedom of speech. They themselves are feeling that your present day modern social media commercialization is violating the freedom of speech. Now, this has brought the question. Many people are telling, already we have acts. Acts as in, we have IT Act 2000. Alongside, we have Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita 2023. Along, these two acts are already enough. Why are they again telling us to create new laws? Understanding, one section of the members, especially with respect to social media, people are telling, already two acts are there. No, let this only be. Why is judiciary trying to tell more laws? Other section is telling, if judiciary itself is telling, then imagine how bad the situation is. So this is the pros and cons. This is not any significatory judgment or anything has been passed. It is mere recommendations. Okay, so there is no particular, let's say, a judicial case for this. Last is your bail principle. Write this down. Done? The whole meaning of bail, okay, is presumption of innocence or innocent until proven guilty. Meaning, let's assume this person has been arrested by the police. Cap, that's the best I can. This police has arrested this person on a suspicion. Okay, that this person has did some unlawful activity. Now, this person should be held in detention, or he will be put into remand. 15 days you will be in custody, 16 days you will be in custody, 20 days you will be in custody. This person, now he will go to a judge. He will tell, I want bail. Means every day I'll come, sign, go to the police station, sign, and if at all any court hearings are there, I'll come to court. But up until that, I don't want to be in prison. I want bail. I'll be outside. This concept of bail is simple, that yes, he has still not been convicted. You've just brought him under suspicion. So we will give him bail is what the concept of bail is. Understanding? But what happened is presently, recently, especially in your UAPA, this bail concept we have discussed in your previous current affair class also. But that was for cashless bail concept. Here it is for specifically this aspect. Unlawful Activities Preventions Act, which means if anyone does and is involved in any sort of anti-national activities, and those people have been caught under suspicion, then for these people, the concept of bail is very, very less. Means, let's say if this person was, let's say he was involved, or at least he was in a place where a lot of terror activity planning was going on. Police have arrested him. Now, when they go for bail, if he is booked under UAPA, they will only listen to the side of the police story. They will ask, is there a probability that this person was there? And the police will explain, see, we have already seen this person in this particular area where terror activity planning was happening. If we leave him out at this point of time, it becomes very difficult. He may inform others. He may identify or he may even abscond in. So, if it is a UAPA case, Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, or any anti-national, specifically dealing with terrorism, drugs, in these kind of cases, if someone is arrested, the bail becomes very less. Okay, in 100 cases, one might get bail. That's it. And even in the bail hearing, the judge will only hear to the police side, not to a lawyer or anyone who he would have put. This is not in normal instances, only in the case of UAPA, unlawful activities. Again, why is it like this? As the name states, to prevent unlawful activities which is done against the state. Okay, write this. In normal scenarios, bail is denied if there is a flight risk, bracket pe absconding, he might leave to some other country. Flight risk, evidence tampering, or witness intimidation. Full stop. But in UAPA cases, Unlawful Activities Prevention Act cases, the instances of bail given becomes very less, and also only the side from the police is heard rather than the defense. Done. This is about your bail principle for general criminal law and your UAPA law. This different ways we are treating the bail also. Terrorism, drug related, or something which will be affecting the national security. But that will not come under your normal criminal case. Again, that is the issue people are telling. What if just activists are also taken? What if people under hate speech are also booked under UAPA? That is the pros and cons of this. But still, one of the main thing why they are still continuing with this is because it is something that affects the national security. Now again, judiciary is trying. We have to look into depth. If police is telling, till now they will stick to the same only. If police tells we shouldn't give bail to this person, they will stick to that in UAPA cases. But the judges are now thinking, let's go a little bit deeper into the police side story also. Sedition law is different. Sedition law is something with respect to intent of harming the country. Intent of harming, not as in terrorism or drug. Let's say you are spreading malicious information, misinformation. But here your activity is outright affecting the people of India. Sedition is even if you are trying to speak something bad, you can be put under. You can't be put under that for UAPA. But this is where people are telling again, hate speech, your activists also can be held. So this is, huh. So this is where your judiciary is trying to tell we have to not just blindly look at it, look more deeper into these things before denying anyone the bail. No, no, no. They directly will not come under UAPA. They will deal with BNS systems. Okay, if all those were brought under UAPA, then it would become very difficult. Folks calls and all they will not. But let's say if it is something to deal with a high level, if a PMO gets, or let's say with respect to aircraft gets, okay, based on the magnitude of the situation, they will identify. And also based on the track record of the person who is doing that also. Okay. Clear up until here? We'll end the session.